Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Sarah Moy. I'm the marketing director here at Modal. We want to talk a little bit about Sunnyside Acura. They launched with us in the Acura Precision Purchase program in April 2020, so not too long ago. And they've been earning 79% more front-end gross on Modal orders than other website leads, driving a higher return overall by 9.6% as well. Over the last few months, they've also increased their full and partial orders through Modal by 11x, which is quite a lot. And today we're very excited to speak with Bob Niven, the operations manager at Sunnyside Acura. He's worked in the automotive industry for 11 years, started out as an internet sales manager, and now he leads the marketing and technology strategy at Sunnyside Acura, a 17-time Acura Precision Team Award winner. Bob, welcome, and we're going to jump into the Q&A session now. So, Bob, tell us a little bit more about what your goals were when you first started using the Acura Precision Purchase tool.
First of all, thank you to everyone for taking the time out of their busy days last week or so of the month to get some information. It's always good to get different information from different companies, and Modal's doing a great job trying to get the word out for what they do, and they do it very well. But let me just say, our initial goal with Acura's Precision Purchase was to find a better platform, a platform that was easy to use. We certainly weren't newcomers to the digital shopping. We had used a number of different tools before. Darwin Automotive is the underpinning for a lot of digital tools that are out there. We used them for almost a year. Then we figured, well, let's go ahead and use the one that our website provider uses. We're a Dealer Inspire website, so we used Online Shopper. Didn't seem to get much traction with that one either. Not that it's a bad tool; they're all fantastic tools. But Acura said we're teaming up with Modal, and we're going to have this great tool that's customers will be able to come from the Acura website directly to your site, see the cars that they're interested in, work up the deals, and kind of go from there. And it just so happened that, we started this process, we signed up with it in roughly March, and we all know what happened in March. So we went from one online shopping tool to the other one. I don't know if it was record time, but the Modal startup was very, very quick. And from what I can recall, 6 months ago, it went extremely smooth. So great start process, very, very easy to use tool. So our goals to get to the point when we started with Acura Precision Purchase was to have a tool that worked not for us necessarily in the dealership, because we're not the ones that are using this tool. The customers are using this tool. So we wanted to make sure that it was super easy for anyone to go through and actually try their hand at being an F&I guy or gal, because, you have to put the information out there. If the information is not correct in the tool, the customer will just close out and say, you know what, that's a crazy payment. I'm not paying $1,200 a month for that car. And it's not realistic, especially when we have lease offers on our website that are sometimes a third of that price. So the information has to be accurate. That was the goal of the tool. Easy to use. That was a huge part of this process as well. And a company that was available when you called them or emailed them and said, hey, can we customize this? Can we make this a little bit more like this? This is kind of how we do things. This is the information we want to share with our customers. And I know, I think Sean is on there. Sean Costa is our rep with Modal. The person I work with all the time, Sarah, is the marketing person, but she's been very helpful as well. And our onboarding team was super helpful. The transition from the onboarding team to the day-to-day worked out great as well. But to summarize, we wanted a tool that was easy to use for the customer, because if it's not easy, they're not going to use it. That is the biggest thing. And this tool is very intuitive. It tells you exactly where you are in the process and exactly what you need to do next. And I guess that's the biggest part of it. And the results have shown themselves to be just that. So.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bob. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think here at Modal, our three priorities are really, that buyer experience, making it transparent for them as well. So accuracy, pricing, all of that is very important to the experience. And then finally, providing the support that dealers need and making it as easy as possible, not only for buyers, but also for you guys.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's part of it. It can be the greatest tool in the world, but if there's no one there to help you set it up and no one there to sort of try to understand what you're trying to accomplish and how you'd like to see that done, then it can be very difficult in getting anything implemented at the dealership. So it's worked very well so far. And I mean, the huge benefit, I mean, I sound like I'm pitching this for you guys, but the huge benefit is that when you use this tool, when you're at the Acura website and you click on inventory as a customer, you can click on buy online at the Acura website and you get sent directly to our store. Stores that don't use this tool, as of right now, they don't have that option. So it's a huge, that was one of the things that initially interested us was, well, I mean, we want to get customers at any stage. So if they happen to go to Acura because they see a commercial somewhere or some advertisement from Acura, they go to the Acura website and they see, all right, well, where's the inventory in my area? They put in the zip code and they say, well, I can buy online with this store. I'm going to click that one. So that was one of the big things. You have that OEM integration that a lot of the other tools don't have. But at the end of the day, the majority of customers don't come from Acura.com, or at least they don't use that same path. They may come from Acura, but then they go to our website and then they interact on our website. So to have that interaction and that connectivity with the OEM is also another huge aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So our next question here, how are you feeling about the results you've gotten so far with Modal tool?
Feeling really good. I mean, we listed a couple right there at the beginning, but just to reiterate that, so we had been with Darwin Automotive for about a year. So we gave it a pretty good test. A lot of times it's, 3 months, 6 months to use something, but, we tried it for about a year. We changed a few things here and there, thought we could do a little bit better. So we went to the next one and we used that one for about 6 months. And this is when Modal became something that was actually available to the dealers. We had heard about it. We had heard that, hey, this new tool, this new digital shopping tool, Acura is vetting this right now. They're getting it all set up. It's going to be available. But as you do sometimes, you wait, and then you say, well, I can't wait anymore. So we signed up with a different company working with that. But in the total of those two other companies, with Darwin and with Online Shopper, there was about 18 months worth of data that we had from an online shopping tool. So we had 18 months from those tools, and we had only been receiving on average, about 6 leads through the online shopping tool, 6 sales leads through that tool in 18 months. The 6 months that we've been on with Modal, we are now averaging about 60. I know that things are a little bit different. People want to transact a little bit different now than they did, a year ago. But the good thing about it is that the tool is there. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to make it easier for a customer to figure out where they actually are as opposed to where they think they should be in their head. It gives them a lot of good information. It's accurate information. It puts a lot of different things in front of them, including, like you can see right now, the upgrades is a big part of it. I know that's a big question for a lot of dealers, especially our F&I guys that were here. They were saying, well, if people are going to buy their car online, they're not going to want any of these products. How are we supposed to, the back end is going to be zero. They're not going to buy anything. Who's going to want to buy that? But the way that this information is presented through Modal is that the upgrades, the F&I stuff is presented at the beginning and throughout the process, so that it's not just, oh, here's my payment, $600 a month. Do I want to sign up for another $32 a month? Most people then say no, but if you can build that product in, the warranty or the gap or the accessories from the beginning, it's all part of the payment. So far, results are pretty good. One that I think we went over, it was a 79% increase in front-end gross. To define that a little bit more clearly for you, I took all of the website leads that we had, all of the other calls to actions on our website, and compared them, all of those in aggregate, compared to just the Modal leads, to see which leads from our website had a higher front-end gross. And the Modal websites were a 79% increase. Now, in a dollar amount, that's $1,441 for the Modal leads and $801 for all the other website leads. So that's a pretty big difference. So we're certainly happy with that. And as you start to get more information in and people use this more, we've got about 6 months. So we're starting to look a little bit more towards the back end and what we can do to increase those vehicle service contracts and accessories in particular to help people get signed up. But what we're seeing now, especially in the last couple of months, July and August, is that there's a lot of customers that are coming through our website on, check availability or schedule a test drive. And once they get that information in, and then our BDC has contacted them, we're seeing that those customers are now going back to our website and going through the modal process themselves. And because we've already spoke to them, we're seeing more of the back end growth sort of coming back to these deals and customers getting more involved. And that's what you want. The more you have the customer involved, the easier it's going to be when they actually get here. They can transact. The best part too, again, about the modal is that for the customers that go through and do the orders from beginning to end, or they know what their payment has worked out for, and we've verified that with them, they spend less time in the dealership, so they're happier. The CSI is very, very good for those customers. So the quick version of the how do we feel about results? Results are very good so far, very good.
Yeah, that's excellent to hear. And F&I is one of the things that we really try to help dealers with as well. We've seen dealers use it in a few different ways, one being to actually allow buyers to choose what additional things they want on their own, right? And we have the ability to show more details, videos, explanations, and it's been pretty well demonstrated that when buyers have more familiarity with F&I products, they're more likely to purchase them. So the earlier on you can provide that education, the more likely they are to buy. The second way we've seen dealers use it is more as a gauge for interest. So you may not want to present a full F&I menu that's a completely exhaustive list of all the options you offer. But if they come in and they, want gap insurance or they choose a vehicle service contract, that gives you a sense of whether or not they're interested in that category. And then you can have an F&I manager speak with them in more detail about what their needs are and get them onto the right plan for them.
Right. Yep, totally makes sense. And for the results overall, we're closing it just about the same. We're not quite as high as our normal website leads. I think our website leads overall are pretty high, but we're at about averages about 14% actual closed and sold for these leads. So it works out pretty well. And I was just taking a look and talking with Sarah before we started, just looking at the leads that we have this month. And what we found is that we really have a lot of customers coming through on the used side as well. I mean, it's not certified vehicles. I know it's not an Acura thing, but we have a good portion, probably about half are new cars and half of them are used cars. So we have both sides of the spectrum looking at this tool and using this tool. And, for the most part, your back end opportunity is going to be on the used cars, especially if it's not a certified car. So that's a huge thing to look at. And to have a tool that works well with something that the OEM likes and for something that we like, we all know used cars, you hopefully make a little bit more money. It's working out really well for us on both sides, new and used. So it's interesting to look at the information that way.
Yeah, that's great to hear. One of the things you talked a little bit about was that process. If a buyer comes in, they've already test driven, and then they go back to the website. Can you tell us a little bit more about how e-commerce is fitting into your BDC and your sales processes?
Definitely. So there's a couple of different ways that the customers interact with the tool. You have the one customer that likely, and by likely I mean about 9 times out of 10, this particular customer does not have a trade. So it makes things super easy for them to figure out what they're doing. So we've had a handful of customers from the beginning to the end, they've done the whole thing online. So that means they've gone on the website, they've picked out their new Acura, and all of these customers have been new customers. They pick out their Acura, they work their payment, whether lease or finance, they work their payment, they go to the end, they fill in all their information, they submit their finance app We get the finance app into DealerTrack. The customer is approved. We give them a call. The BDC will reach out to them initially, find out any other little tidbits the F&I office might need. We get all the paperwork together. They're sent the paperwork. It's done, and we've delivered, I think, 2 or 3 cars. The other section of those customers, they've come to the store and they've signed the paperwork and then they've left, but super, super quick. Those, as of right now, they're not the majority of the customers. They are definitely in the minority. They're probably only about 10% of the total customers. So the majority of people that we get are either are leads from the system. Someone has gone through a lot of the process, but they haven't finished the process. They haven't gone all the way through to maybe submit their finance app, or they still need to add their trade or something like that. So that's where the BDC or your champion comes into play, because Modal's got a great dashboard. It provides a lot of information in the lead source itself, but the dashboard is really a good place to go, because you can check, you can click on the information, you can find out where the customer left off in the process. I'm looking at a lead that literally just came in at 113. So this person, new Acura MDX, they went through the buy button, they selected products, they did a pickup. So you can say, I either want to pick it up or you want it shipped to you. This person wants to pick it up here. They don't have a trade. So that means they have 4 pieces left. They have a credit app is partially completed. The approval is then obviously not incomplete, or is incomplete. There's no documents and there's no appointment set. So this gives a place for our BDC to customize what they're going to say to the customer. So they're not just going to say, hey, what car are you interested in? We already know it's a 2020 MDX. We already know where the customer is looking at. They're looking at finance, and it says next step, credit app. So when they try to contact the customer, that's what they're starting off with. They're not starting off at step 1. They're starting off at step 5. Hey, it looks like you were working this lead or working this vehicle through our digital shopping app. I can help you submit that app right now. Do you have any other questions? See, it's really a great tool to be able to customize what you're going to say to the customer and where you're going to pick up. And if you think about customers that just show up to your showroom, you have to start at step 1. With this customer, we're already halfway through the process. So that's a great thing. You get, even when you get a customer coming from Car Gurus or Cars.com or wherever else, you don't know where they are in the process. You don't know what their intentions are. We know this person, at least based on the information, is looking at financing an MDX for 60 months, and they partially did the credit app. So we can say, did you have any issues with that? What do you need help with? So that's the great part about the back end. You've got all the information, all the ways to contact the customer. And in this case, you have a partial credit score on it. So the BDC is a huge part of it. If they don't follow up, if they just take the lead that comes in and says, hey, it looks like you're interested in this car, it's available, when do you want to come see it? That doesn't do anybody any good. It's not personalized. It's not customized to any extent that you would think that it should be. So these customers are telling you all this stuff. Modal is gathering all this information together. BDC is huge to be able to get that information and then to utilize it to get the customer in. And we've had great success with that. I think we're probably close to, out of the leads that we've had from Modal, like I said, it's about an average of 60 a month just through the digital shopping app. I think it's been about 50 of those people we've had appointments with, and 47% of them have showed up. So we have a really huge contact rate and show rate on those customers. So it really works out well. Now, some of them don't buy the first time they come in. They're maybe a week away, but from what we've seen, it's generally a 10-day process from the customer's initial lead to the time that they buy. So these customers are buying pretty quick. So if you have that extra information about where they are in the process, the BDC is huge in starting off on the right step instead of starting at step 1. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You really hit on an important point where the process is just such a critical part of being able to close customers. And when you have an online buying tool like Acura Precision Purchase powered by Modal, that that just gives you a gauge for how close that buyer is to actually purchasing their next vehicle. Being able to have all the information at your fingertips and have really personalized experience for each buyer that's maybe started the process but hasn't finished the process, and really
Mhm.
empowering your BDC folks to follow up in a really effective way that really just helps close a lot more deals.
Yeah, because there was another customer. I have the Modal dashboard up right now. I'm just this isn't from complete 100% recollection. So this was another lead from earlier today at about 10:30. Customer, another new customer, 21 RDX. They've only done one step. They did the payment. That was it. So they're looking to finance 72 months. They've got a rough payment term in there. They have done nothing else in that process. So you can see the difference between customers. One is halfway through the process, and one is right at the beginning of the process. So just having that really gives you something to talk to the customer about to sort of help them along. So it's almost like it's like a cheat sheet. So you really need to use that. It really needs to be part of the process for the tool to be successful.
Yeah, and it definitely gives you a little bit of a leg up on the competition when you can have a conversation with a customer about exactly what they've already told you, right? Just
Right.
makes that experience a lot more seamless. So one of the things we alluded to a little bit was, you guys went live in April, signed up in March, and that was right around the time that things were starting to be shut down for COVID-19 concerns. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that's affected your business?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. There are some dealerships that didn't have any digital shopping tool to start with. So there was kind of this mad rush, and I'm sure you've all seen it with every vendor partner out there pushing their digital sales solution like it was going to be the thing to keep your dealership afloat. And different dealerships use it different ways. Some people have more customers that go beginning to end, and the car is delivered and it's gone. But we had digital shopping tool before, so we were sort of switching to a new one, and it just so happened that it was an easy to use tool, so that benefited us. But I can tell you, business, huge changes, huge changes. March, April, middle of March is sort of when we had the stay-at-home order, at least here in New Hampshire. So sales business dropped way, way down. April, same thing. Started a little bit come back in May, better June, July, August. Those are a little bit, a little bit closer to where we needed to be and where we'd expect to be in the summer. But if you think about that one piece of data that I shared earlier, previous to Modal, the previous 18 months with our digital shopping tool, we had on average only about 6 people using a digital shopping tool, 6 leads through our digital shopping tool. Since we started with Modal in March, the past 6 months, we've had 60 leads, new and used leads. So that is a huge change in business. You had people before that were still clicking on, hey, is this car available? I want to schedule a test drive. What's your best price? Now they're clicking on this tool because they're thinking, well, do I want to spend 3 hours in the dealership going through this? Do I want to get, they're looking for a better idea of what they're in for when they get to the dealership is what we found. So the fact that this tool is there and it makes it easy and it's comfortable for customers to use is huge. So we went from 6 to 60. What was the number, Sarah? Was it like 11 times increase
Yeah.
in digital shopping tool leads? That's crazy. So the fact that this tool is there and you're able to use it is huge. But even now, people are obviously a little bit more relaxed about what's going on. It's sort of become part of your process. When you leave the house, you grab your mask. When you go into a business, you grab your mask. All of these things, people are doing things differently. So the fact that we're still able to use this tool and show customers it's transparent, that we're not hiding anything. All of the the Acura incentives are in there. So we're giving customers a good actual number that they can work with. So it just makes them happier customers in the long run. And if we can make it easier for a customer to do business with us, I don't think you can ask for much more than that. But Specifically, obviously, COVID changed business quite a bit. Our service business still kind of hung in there. New Hampshire, we were allowed to stay open for sales and service as an essential business. I mean, we did have to change everything as far as, making sure we wipe things down, making sure, customer steering wheels, when they come in for service, have the plastic wrap on them, wipe the cars down before they get back in. But going forward, this tool is still going to be there. And we like to use it to help out our customers as a talking point to see what they want to do to make them feel comfortable. But overall, I'm really glad we made the change. It came at a great point. Obviously, you go from 6 digital shopping leads a month to 60. You have to have a tool that functions, and the results are there. We've had plenty of sold vehicles on this, and speaking with our district reps and our Shift Digital rep as well, and they were kind of surprised at first that we had the success that we've had, but there's a lot of things that have to go with that. You have to have that process in there. Even when you're delivering the car to the customer, you have to tell them, look, this is what we're going to do. Once we get there and the car is delivered, like I think it was May, we delivered a car to a customer, no trade, delivered it there. We followed someone with a loaner vehicle, dropped the car off, wiped the car down, gloves on, mask on, here's your paperwork, just finish the signatures, we're good. Wipe the car down again as you leave for the customer with the alcohol wipes, and it just all becomes part of the process. So that's what we're seeing. This tool is part of the process now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I know we're getting a little bit close to our half-hour mark, so I wanted to close with, what advice do you have for dealers who are maybe looking to get started with Acura Precision Purchase or another digital retailing tool?
The biggest piece of advice is just to ask a lot of questions. From probably what you've heard, I don't mind talking, so I have no problem asking 100 questions to Sean or to Sarah or to the onboarding team, and they're all very, very helpful. So whether you're dealing with Modal for this tool or any vendor for any tool, you have to ask the questions and ask, how best can I implement this tool with what we're doing now at our own store? Because it's not one size fits all. You have to make it work for what you're trying to do. And the best tools and the best partners have enough leeway in the product that they're offering or the process that they're offering to be able to customize things for what you're looking to do. And that's exactly what Modal does for the customer. So they're able to do that for us as well. There's certain things that we want to show on our search result pages or our vehicle detail pages. And there's some things that we don't want to show. And there's a way to customize their tool for what works on your website. The colors that work on your website, the shape of the buttons that fit on your website, those things are all important because you don't want it to look like someone just plopped something down on your website, and now our customer has to look at it and go, this doesn't look right. Because I know when I'm looking at websites, if something seems off, it just throws the whole experience off. So if it's a seamless platform, a seamless tool, a seamless process, it's just one less thing for the customer to think about. And as the dealer side, it's great to be able to work with a company like Modal that can see that we're not trying to change the tool. We're just trying to make it sort of custom for what we do. I know we talked about colors, we talked about shape of the buttons, but e-commerce, to get a little bit more specific, you got to have people at the dealership that are using the tool and that are champions of the tool. You have to have the BDC. We've got Rachel and Jenna in the BDC that look at every single lead in the dashboard before they contact the customer. The lead comes into the CRM, they look at it, and then they pull up the dashboard right behind that and say, okay, where's the customer in this process? How am I going to interact with them? It goes back to the basics of read the whole lead before you contact the customer. It's the same thing. Read the whole lead. Now, Modal has given us an opportunity to see even deeper into what this customer wants. So if you don't have a digital shopping tool, it doesn't hurt to look at other ones. But if you're an Acura dealer, this one gives you that leg up that, a customer can start the buying process from Acura.com. So That's a really big process, and it goes in with all the data. It's very easy to see the analytics on this. Modal's got a great team to get you set up and to follow through. So, I mean, I could go on for another half an hour, but I'm sure I'm sure people will have other questions. So that's the big thing for me, is that, it can be a great tool, but if you don't use it may be not the tool that you're looking for. So.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bob. And I do want to open it up to questions from the audience here. If you have a question, please send those to us in the chat. We'd love to get those answered. And just a reminder, if you think of a question later, you can always email us directly at success@modal.com. We do have some folks who are very impressed by the front-end gross that increased by 79%.
Yeah, and like I said, that was, I took all of the same time frame. I didn't use different time frames for that front-end gross. I used the same time frame. It was the past 3 months, and took all the data that was in there. So looking at, get e-price, check availability, all of those CDAs that are on our website, took those as one whole aggregate number and compared it specifically to the modal leads, and that's the number that came up. So, and it's something we do every month. We look at those things every month, but it's an actual number. It's good to see that, because people are always worried that, with something like this, you may miss out, but we haven't, certainly not seen that. And, it makes it easier for out-of-state buyers too. We just had another person, I think it was yesterday, from New York. We did the whole thing, before they got here. They checked it out. They said, this is great. This is fantastic. Here's the paperwork. You FedEx the paperwork to them, and, it works out really well.
Wow, that's amazing. Really great to hear stories like that when customers can just have the experience that they want to have, right? I know we talked a little bit about back-end profitability and overall profitability. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I, looking at, I don't have the specific number in front of me for the exact back end versus the front end, because I think the data that I sent you, it was about 9.62%, 9.6% higher return front and back. So when we looked at Modal as a lead source versus all our other lead sources, so I went beyond just the website. I included like our Edmunds leads and Cars.com and all these other third-party sites, everything. When I compared the front and back of Modal versus all other lead source, we were almost 10% higher, 9.62% higher overall front and back. That's a pretty good number in my book. I apologize, I don't have the exact number for the back end gross on there, but we've seen the same thing that we've seen, for non-digital shopping leads. Some of them you might be able to get 2,000 in the back. If it's a used car that doesn't have a certified warranty, you can sell a bunch of products. And then on the other hand, if it's a new car, it's going to be pretty tough. You're probably going to have to go with maybe a vehicle service contract on that one, or some accessories. So it really depends on the car. So I saw that it was pretty evenly weighted overall, but comparing all of those other lead sources just to Modal, it's about 10% higher, 9.62% higher overall front and back. So I thought that was pretty good. But it is something that we're looking at, and we're looking at other ways to customize those products now that we've had about 6 months in, to customize those products, and even the wording on those products, or some of the imagery that we can offer customers. And certainly when our BDC gets in touch with them, making sure, again, that it's a reiteration of, have you considered a vehicle service contract with your lease, or have you considered this? The more times you bring it up, the more often you're going to be able to actually get the customer to think about it, and then hopefully in the end to go forward with that particular product. So we are changing some of those things to make that back end even higher than it is now.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. I do know we're a little over time here. I want to be respectful. Looks like we do have a couple more questions. We'll take those offline and answer those on email. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great conversation, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much.